Hello and welcome to another Head2Head, and we're doing it differently today in View Street, fresh off your interview, Keith Sullivan, with Karen Quinlan from the gallery.
And how refreshing was that to have Karen here talking about Marilyn, the exhibition, and the sculpture across the road here. How amazing.
This is an incredible view, and 10 points here for organising this. I mean, I'm sitting here before when you were interviewing Karen, and I'm thinking incredible how View Street has grown. I know we have the gallery, you've got the capital, there's a lot happening in View Street anyway, but 10 points to the City of Greater Bendigo for the way everyone from the staff and the nursery, I don't know who managed the overall theme, but the outcome's just incredible, Keith. And I think with a lot of people coming to Bendigo, as they will do for the Marilyn exhibition, if you like, to walk up View Street as they'll have to do and down View Street, you could not better it.
Well, it's a magnificent boulevard, and no wonder Bendigo was voted the best town, because as you mentioned before, the View Street with all the wonderful historic buildings, and of course across the road here we have Rosalind Park. And then
exactly.
Next Saturday we've got the Scots Day Out, so Bendigo is a happening place, and as I said, I'm very proud to think that Bendigo was voted the best town in Victoria, so there you go.
We wandered down View Street the other night, Keith, and I was amazed. This was about 7 o'clock at night, 7:30 I reckon. It wasn't even a weekend. There had to be 30 people plus around the Marilyn statue taking photos and selfies and family shots. And I'm talking families, not just, these weren't tourists, these are people who live here. Incredible effect it's already had on the community.
It is, and I hope that there's no accidents, because all of a sudden you drive into town, you look up and you see the statue. You're not looking at the cars in front of you. I've already seen a couple of near misses, and it's just hopeless. But anyway, it's well worth it, and being the third place, only two in America, in Chicago, Palm Springs, and now Bendigo. So we are on the map, there's no doubt about it.
There's one voice of dissent out there though, Keith, I have to mention this, because I had a good laugh at the time. I worked out Marilyn would have been 89 this year, roughly 89. My mum's coming 90, so she's 89, the same vintage, and Mum was around when Marilyn was a star. And I said to Mum about, you're going to go and see the Marilyn thing. Why would I want to go and see that? Why the hell did they bring her out here? And I couldn't believe it. But it's interesting how people who perhaps lived when she was alive and with the same vintage saw the experiences that she had in a whole range of ways differently to what the public does now when you look back with all the fondness and memories 40 years later.
Well, if you die young, that's all. You always got a legacy, and they always remember you as being young.
Exactly, yeah. Last time we caught up, Keith, last week in fact, the evening before the Libs locally were pre-selecting their candidate for the federal seat of Bendigo up against Lisa Chester's. And they've since come up with a candidate, which you'll obviously be aware of now. Do you know much about Megan Purcell? Or?
I've read a bit about her history, and she seems an impressive young lady. As I mentioned last time we spoke, I predicted that she had to be the only candidate, in the sense, I know there was three, but the other two were never going to get it, so Megan was the obvious choice. But there was a fair bit of publicity on social media, being in the reality farmer looking for a wife program, so there's been a lot of flack. Well, it's got a fair bit of profile.
I have to say, Keith, I find it a breath of fresh air to have somebody who, and so often with a party these days, we talk about party politics and how the machine runs the show, really. So that when it comes to being in Parliament, often you're just, rather than being your electorate representative, so often you're a representative of your party machine, end of story. And I have to say, I found it refreshing that somebody that hasn't been in a dowdy back room in Spring Street or working in a political Liberal Party office in Canberra has been shunted forward, and there's another number. I know she's had copped a bit of flack around, personality things and all that in terms of having lived a life, or 10 points to her for living a damn life. I find it really refreshing that instead of somebody come up against Lisa who's just a party person for the Libs, I reckon she'll inject a lot of life and verve into the campaign.
Well, she comes from Maldon, so hopefully if she's got a part of the Maldon community, Castlemaine, there's a few votes down that way, so it'll be interesting to see. So obviously we have to get her on the program and find out a bit more about that person.
Very much look forward to it.
Yes.
Yeah. Another one that's been in the news and out of coalition ranks, and I know you've had her on the program a lot on Pointy End, Senator Bridget McKenzie. Bridget's copping a bit of stick out of the national media as well.
Well, she has. The program, they had it last week, that she was a gun-toting National Party regional senator from Bendigo.
Any truth that you and her go duck shooting together or not?
Well, I've never been duck shooting. I'm not a shooter. I don't have a licence and never would have. But the fact that they're saying this, and she lives down in Melbourne, of course, in the suburb of Elwood. But in all fairness to Bridget, I've got to say that her and I have discussed being a real estate agent, about her buying a property in Bendigo, and this goes back quite a way.
I remember that, yeah.
Yep,
She was looking for
she is definitely looking for a property in Bendigo. We discussed it last year. Hasn't been the right sort of property, so in all fairness to her, she has been looking, hasn't found the right property, so why do you rush out? Okay, I know that she visits Bendigo, but so do all the other senators from Victoria, but she's based regionally in Victoria, but you're representing the whole of Victoria. So yeah, a bit unfair, that sort of publicity, because I don't think that she's done anything bad. She is looking, so I just want to put that on record anyway.
Actually, talking about that sort of thing, we're in an election year where we're going to have a very feisty series of candidates. I'm thinking, say, the local government too. You've got a lot of things going on there. We've got Elise Chapman, Councillor Chapman, also a One Nation candidate. But in terms of the federal seat, it just occurred to me now, Megan Purcell up against Lisa Chesters. There's no misogyny, there's no old bloke, like there's not a young gun Greg Bickley up there. There's not a Bruce Reid type, elder statesman. So it's going to be interesting to see how the two women tackle head on the federal run for Bendigo.
And they will do head-to-head, basically like our program, because we have to perhaps get them both on together, because it'll be interesting, the slant on issues, and yeah, there's a few things going wrong with the Turnbull government at the moment, so it'll be interesting to talk to her about that, but we'll let her find her feet.
So Keith, there's so many things going right for the Turnbull government as well. On another thing, Keith, Scott's big day out. I know this is close to your heart. I've even spotted you in the kilt. I think it was last year or the year before. In the
Every
kilt.
year, Dennis, for the last 4 years. Yes.
But, I believe it's going to be bigger and better than ever this year, and already a lot of excitement around Chris Earl. You can't be within 100 metres of Chris without hearing about it.
And Catherine McKenzie, and I believe she's wearing the Bendigo tartan, so which
right, yeah.
Chris showed on our program last week. So, yeah, exciting time, and we're expecting a wonderful crowd across the road. And Catherine and a person from Scotland is also going to be doing the salute to the bands, and so yeah, that's happening on Saturday morning. So if you want to see someone introducing those bands, you better come and see me in the Sutherland tartan.
You can't be anywhere within the CBD without knowing it's happening, that's for sure.
That's exactly right.
I noticed somewhere in social media, I think it was you, Keith, commented through the week, took your hat off to Malcolm Turnbull for having the courage to step away from the GST going to 15%. Was it you?
No, I think you're probably mistaken there, Dennis, because Mr. Flip-Flop himself, I thought that Malcolm was going to come to the party leadership after Tony Abbott, who was such a dud, Tony. And all of a sudden now Mr. Flip-Flop, he can't make decisions without the Tony Abbott faction deciding what they'll do, whether they'll let him vote on this,
He's not
all
silly,
these
though.
things.
To go to a poll though, Keith, with the GST at 15%, as he may well have done, to do that would be almost political suicide.
Well, that's
he may well even drag Shorten out a single-digit polling numbers.
No, 15% he's got.
Oh, he's up to 15 now. But
no, he's come down to 15.
It's going to be interesting either way, and I want to say I really get excited when I think about what lies ahead in 2016. So much at stake locally, in local government terms, and federally for Bendigo, but so much happening when you look at the life around the city. We've got Easter around the corner as well, Keith. It just doesn't stop in Bendigo.
Well, I was told today on some pretty reliable source that the election will be in July. They will call it double dissolution, and they've only got 2 dates in June to do that. And a double dissolution. My theory on that is that they'll call a double dissolution only after they change the voting pattern, where you've got to get a certain amount of votes. Otherwise, you don't get the Motoring Enthusiast Party getting with about 0.02% of the votes. So the Greens, Labor, Liberals are all in favour. So if that legislation goes through, there's no doubt they'll go for that double dissolution and wipe out all these minor people in Parliament, in the Senate.
Look, I don't know, I can't speak for all the other average punters, but certainly from my point of view, I think it'd be a breath of fresh air again to have a Senate that is there, certainly to review legislation and do what it's intended to do. But we've had, even the Gillard-run governments, everyone's had their problems with minority groups, or not even groups, individuals in the Senate. So I think a room through the whole thing and give the electorate an opportunity to say, hey, look, we want a government that can function the way that it's elected to do. So probably a good thing. Well,
let's hope so, because they were there as checks and balances for that terrible Prime Minister, Tony Abbott.
We've got a bad line there somewhere, Keith. All right, Keith, great to catch up again. We'll catch you at Scott's big day out, and look forward, as I said earlier, to a year that's going to be full of electioneering on local and federal levels.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Dennis.